The training arena on Station Epsilon 7 was massive. Steel walls rose 50 meters high, and bright lights made every corner visible. Today, 200 cadets from across the galaxy stood in neat rows waiting for their combat assessment to begin. Among them stood Jin-Ho Kim, a human in his second year at the Galactic Coalition Military Academy. Jin-Ho was not tall compared to most species here. His dark hair was cut short according to military regulations, and his brown eyes watched everything carefully. He wore the standard gray cadet uniform, though it fit differently on his smaller human frame. Next to him stood his friend Minji Park, another human who had become like a sister to him during their time at the academy. "Do you think the general will actually watch us train today?" Minji whispered. Her voice was quiet, but Jin-Ho could hear the nervousness in it. "Probably," Jin-Ho replied. "I heard he likes to observe the newer species." The newer species. That was what everyone called humans. Earth had joined the coalition only 5 years ago. Most of the other species had been members for centuries. The Kelthari had been founding members over 1,000 years ago. Their reptilian warriors were known throughout the galaxy as the strongest, the fiercest, the best. A door at the far end of the arena opened. General Vrathcon entered, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. He was huge even for a Kelthari. His scales were deep green with scars crossing his chest and arms. Each scar was a story of battle. His eyes were yellow with black slits, and they moved across the cadets like a predator selecting prey. Behind him walked Commander Daeho Choi, the human liaison officer. Choi was older, maybe 40, with gray starting to show in his black hair. He had been a soldier on Earth before joining the coalition forces. His face was expressionless, but Jin-Ho knew that look. It meant trouble. "Begin formation drills," barked an instructor, a tall insectoid officer whose name Jin-Ho could never pronounce correctly. The cadets moved into position. For the next hour they ran through standard combat formations. Jin-Ho moved with precision, his body remembering every step from months of practice. Humans were smaller than most species here. They were weaker too, at least in raw strength. But Jin-Ho had learned that speed and technique could balance that disadvantage. General Vrathcon watched from the observation platform. His arms were crossed and his face showed clear displeasure. When the formations ended, he descended the stairs with heavy footsteps that echoed through the arena. "Pathetic," the general's voice boomed. "Half of you move like you are dancing at a celebration, not preparing for war." The cadets stood at attention. No one dared to move. "And you," Vrathcon pointed at the human section. "You soft-skins are the worst. Why does the coalition waste resources training species too fragile for battle?" Gino felt his jaw tighten. This was not the first time the general had insulted humans. It happened almost every time he observed their training. Most times the human cadets stayed quiet. It was safer that way. But today something was different. Maybe it was the way the other cadets looked at them with pity or amusement. Maybe it was the memory of every insult that had come before. Or maybe it was simply that Jin-Ho was tired of being small and silent. "Permission to speak, sir," Jin-Ho said, his voice steady. The arena went completely quiet. Minji's hand twitched toward him as if to pull him back, but she stopped herself. General Vrathcon turned slowly, his yellow eyes fixed on Jin-Ho. "You want to speak, Softskin?" "Yes, sir. Humans may be physically smaller, but we have proven ourselves capable in simulations and field exercises. We are here because we earned our place just like every other species." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Vrathcon laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. It was the laugh of someone who found a joke too stupid to believe. "Earned your place?" The general moved closer. Each step was deliberate, meant to intimidate. "Your species has been in space for less time than I have been a soldier. You come from one primitive planet and think you can stand with warriors bred for 1,000 generations. Every species started somewhere, sir." Jin-Ho kept his voice respectful but firm. "We learn quickly." "Learn quickly?" Vrathcon was now directly in front of Jin-Ho. The general towered over him, easily twice his size. "Let me teach you something, Softskin. Let me teach you about your place." The strike came without warning. Vrathcon's massive hand swung in a backhanded slap that caught Jin-Ho across the face. The force lifted him off his feet and sent him crashing into the wall 3 meters away. Pain exploded through his head. He tasted blood immediately, feeling it run from his nose and split lip. The arena erupted in gasps and shocked voices. Minji started to move forward, but Commander Choi grabbed her arm, holding her back with a grip that said, "Wait." Jin-Ho's vision blurred. His ears rang from the impact. The wall behind him felt cold against his back. For a moment, everything seemed distant, like he was watching from far away. "Know your place, soft skin," Vrathcon growled, turning away as if the matter was finished. 1 second passed. Jinho's hands pressed against the floor. 2 seconds passed. His vision cleared, sharpening with sudden intensity. 3 seconds passed. Something changed in Jinho's body. His heart began to pound faster, much faster. His breathing deepened. Chemical signals flooded through his blood, signals that his species had carried for hundreds of thousands of years. Adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol. His ancestors had needed these chemicals to survive on a world where everything wanted to kill them. Jinho stood up. The movement was fluid, controlled. Blood dripped from his chin, but he did not wipe it away. His eyes locked onto General Vrathcon's back. What happened next took less than 2 seconds, but everyone in the arena would remember it for the rest of their lives. Jinho crossed the distance between them in 3 long strides. His movements were precise, economical, perfect. As Vrathcon began to turn, sensing something wrong, Jinho's hands were already moving. He did not make a fist. He did not strike. Instead, his left hand caught Vrathcon's right wrist, thumb pressing into a nerve cluster that existed in most bipedal species. His right hand pushed against the general's elbow, creating a joint lock that used the Keltari's own anatomy against him. Jinho's foot swept behind Vrathcon's knee, and suddenly the massive general was falling. Vrathcon hit the ground on his knees with a sound like thunder. Jinho maintained the lock, applying just enough pressure to cause intense pain without breaking bones. His other hand moved to the general's neck, fingers finding pressure points that made the reptilian warrior's entire body go rigid. But it was not the technique that broke General Vrathcon. It was something else. Jinho's eyes had changed. The brown had darkened almost to black. His pupils were dilated. His face showed no anger, no fear, no emotion at all. It was the face of pure calculation, of a mind running through scenarios at incredible speed. In that moment, Jinho was not thinking like a cadet or even a soldier. He was thinking like his ancestors who had hunted predators across African plains, who had survived ice ages and droughts, who had climbed to the top of their world's food chain, not through strength but through relentless, terrifying persistence. Vrathcon felt something he had not felt since he was young, perhaps not since he was a child. Fear, deep, primal fear. His warrior instinct screamed at him that he was in the presence of an apex predator. "Release me," Vrathcon said, and his voice shook. Jinho did not move. His breathing was controlled now, steady. When he spoke, his voice was soft, but everyone in the silent arena heard it clearly. "We call this adrenaline. You should be grateful I'm controlling it. Please." The word came out as almost a whimper from the general. "Please release me." Jinho held the position for 1 more second. Then he let go and stepped back, his hands visibly shaking now that the rush was fading. General Vrathcon scrambled backward on the floor, his dignity forgotten. His yellow eyes were wide, fixed on Jinho with an expression that looked like horror. The arena remained frozen in silence. Then Commander Choi's voice cut through. "Security to the training arena, now." The detention cell was small but clean. White walls, a simple bed, a toilet, and a sink. Jinho sat on the bed with his head in his hands. They had cleaned the blood from his face in the medical bay before bringing him here. His lip was swollen and his nose hurt, but nothing was broken. The doctor, a small blue-skinned alien, had seemed afraid to touch him. 6 hours had passed since the incident. 6 hours of silence except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Jinho replayed the moment over and over in his mind. He remembered the look in Vrathcon's eyes. The fear. He had caused that fear. The realization made him feel sick. The door opened. Commander Choi entered holding a datapad. His expression was unreadable. "How are you feeling?" Choi asked, sitting in the only chair. "Confused, sir," Jinho replied honestly. "I do not understand what happened." "You do not understand putting a general on the ground?" Choi raised an eyebrow. "No, sir. I mean, I understand that part. I do not understand why he was so afraid. I did not hurt him badly. I was careful." Choi was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. "Jinho, do you know why I left Earth to join the Coalition?" "No, sir. I was Special Forces. 20 years of combat duty. I have seen things that would give you nightmares. When humanity joined the Coalition, they needed someone to help translate not just our language but our nature. They chose me because I understand what we are capable of. Jinho waited. He had learned that when Commander Choi started a story, it was best to let him finish. The coalition species mostly come from what we would call paradise worlds. Gentle gravity, stable climates, few natural predators. They evolved to cooperate, to negotiate, to avoid conflict. War for them is almost a theoretical exercise. Choi leaned forward. Earth is not like that. Earth is classified as a hazard level 8 world. Do you know how rare that is? No, sir. Out of 12,000 cataloged planets capable of supporting life, only 43 are level 8 or higher. Most coalition species would die on Earth within a week. The predators would eat them. The diseases would kill them. The weather would finish whatever was left. I know Earth is dangerous, sir. But what does that have to do with today? Everything, Choi said firmly. You are the product of that danger. Your body, your mind, your instincts. When that general hit you, your body did what millions of years of evolution programmed it to do. It prepared you to survive. The adrenaline, Jinho said quietly. Yes, but it is more than that. Most species here have a simple fear response. They run or they freeze. Humans have something different. When we are threatened, our bodies dump chemicals that make us faster, stronger, and more aggressive. Our pain tolerance increases. Our thinking becomes sharper in some ways. We can keep fighting even when badly injured. Your ancestors needed this to survive animals that were bigger and stronger than them. Jinho looked at his hands. They had stopped shaking hours ago. I scared him. You terrified him, Choi corrected. And now it is causing problems. Big problems. The commander activated his datapad and showed Jinho a news feed. The incident was everywhere. Video from a dozen angles showing the moment Vrathcon struck him, and the moment Jinho responded. The headlines were dramatic. Human cadet attacks general. Violence at Coalition Academy. Are humans too dangerous? The Kelthari High Command is demanding your prosecution, Choi said. They want you expelled and sent to a coalition prison. Some other species are supporting them. They are saying humans are too volatile, too unpredictable. There is talk of restricting human participation in the military. What? Jinho felt cold. But he hit me first. I was defending myself, I know. And we have 100 witnesses who will testify to that. But politics is not about what is fair, Jinho. It is about fear and power. Right now, a lot of species are afraid of what you represent. Before Jinho could respond, the door opened again. A woman entered, tall and elegant with silver hair despite looking only middle-aged. She wore civilian clothes, which was unusual on a military station. Cadet Kim, I am Hyejin Yoon. I am a lawyer from Earth, and I will be representing you in the tribunal. Jinho stood and bowed slightly. A habit from home. Thank you, ma'am. Sit down, she said, not unkindly. She pulled up a second chair. We do not have much time, so I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Every detail. For the next hour, Jinho described the training session, the general's insults, the strike, and his response. Hyejin took notes on her datapad, occasionally asking specific questions. When he finished, she sat back and thought. Your restraint saved you, she said finally. You could have seriously injured him. Your training records show you are proficient in combat techniques that would have been lethal. Instead, you used a control hold. That will help. Will it be enough? Commander Choi asked. Honestly, I do not know. This is not just about Jinho anymore. This has become a test case for human integration into the coalition. She looked at Jinho directly. Are you prepared for that? For becoming a symbol? I just want to be a cadet, ma'am. I want to graduate and serve. That might not be possible anymore. Win or lose, after this everyone will know your name. Every human in the coalition will be judged by what happens here. The weight of those words settled on Jinho like a physical thing. He had not asked for this. He had just wanted to defend his species' honor. Now the future of humanity in the coalition might depend on what happened next. A soft knock came at the door. A young woman in a cadet uniform stood there, another human. It was Somin Lee, a first-year cadet Jinho had helped train. Sorry to interrupt, sir, Somin said nervously, but Cadet Park sent me. She said to tell Jinho that we are gathering evidence. All the human cadets are working together. We will not let them push us out. Jinho felt something tighten in his chest. Pride, maybe? Or fear for what his actions might cost his friends. Thank you, Somin, he said. Tell Minji to be careful. After Somin left, Hyejin stood. The tribunal begins tomorrow at 1000 hours. Get some rest if you can. This will be difficult. She and Commander Choi left together, talking in low voices. The door sealed behind them. leaving Jinho alone again. He lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere on this station, General Vrathkon was probably doing the same thing. The general had seemed so powerful, so confident. Then in 3 seconds, everything had changed. Jinho thought about what Commander Choi had said. About Earth being a death world. About human evolution. He had learned the basics in school, of course. How humans had evolved as hunters, as persistent predators who chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. How they had survived ice ages and volcanic winters. How they had spread across an entire planet, adapting to every environment. But it had always seemed like history, like something distant. Now he understood it was not history. It was in his blood and his bones. When Vrathkon had hit him, millions of years of survival instinct had activated. His body had known what to do even if his mind was still catching up. The question now was whether the galaxy could accept that. Whether they could look at humanity's violent past and see potential allies instead of threats. Jinho closed his eyes, but sleep did not come easily. His mind kept replaying those 3 seconds. The moment when he had stopped being afraid and started being dangerous. The moment when General Vrathkon, a warrior with 30 campaigns, had begged for mercy from a cadet. He wondered if things would ever be simple again. If he could ever just be a student trying to pass his exams. Somehow he doubted it. In the morning, the tribunal would begin. The galaxy would watch. And Jinho Kim, a 22-year-old human who had just wanted to defend his species' honor, would stand trial for defending himself. He thought about his family back on Earth, his mother who had cried when he left for the academy, his father who had been so proud, his younger sister who looked up to him. What would they think when they saw the news? Would they understand? Finally, exhaustion overtook him and sleep came. But even in sleep, he dreamed of yellow eyes filled with fear, and he wondered what that meant for humanity's future among the stars. Outside his cell, the station continued its endless routine. But nothing would be quite the same. Word was spreading through the coalition networks. Humanity, the newest and smallest member species, had shown something unexpected, something that made even the Kelthari pause. On Earth, news channels debated. In alien capitals, politicians argued. And in military academies across 100 worlds, instructors began updating their lessons about human capabilities. The galaxy was learning. And what they were learning scared them. The tribunal chamber was designed to intimidate. High ceilings stretched overhead, painted with symbols from every coalition member species. 12 seats formed a half circle at the front, each occupied by a representative from a major species. In the center sat Elder Nimthar, an ancient being whose species had been exploring space when humans were still learning to make fire. His skin was pale gray and covered in patterns that shifted slowly, like oil on water. Jinho stood in the defendant's area, wearing his cadet uniform. Hijin Yoon stood beside him, her datapad ready. Behind them sat a gallery filled with observers. Jinho could see Minji in the front row, her face tense. Commander Choi sat near the back, expressionless. And scattered throughout were media representatives from dozens of worlds, their recording devices focused on him. General Vrathkon sat across the chamber in the witness area. He wore his full military uniform with all his medals. But something was different about him. He sat stiffly and his eyes would not meet Jinho's. This tribunal is now in session. Elder Nimthar's voice was quiet, but it carried perfectly through the chamber. We are here to determine the facts of the incident that occurred in Training Arena 7. Cadet Jinho Kim stands accused of assault on a superior officer. How does the defendant plead? Not guilty, Elder, Hijin said firmly. Cadet Kim acted in self-defense against an unprovoked attack. A Keltari officer stood from the prosecution table. His name was Vextar, and his scales were darker than Vrathkon's. The prosecution will show that Cadet Kim used excessive force and demonstrated a dangerous lack of control. Furthermore, we will present evidence that humans may be unfit for military service due to violent tendencies. The words hung in the air. This was what Commander Choi had warned about. The trial was not just about Jinho. It was about all humans. Prosecution may present their case, Nimthar said. Vextar activated a holographic display showing the arena footage. Everyone watched as Vrathkon struck Jinho, sending him into the wall. Then they watched Jinho rise and respond. The footage played in slow motion, showing every movement of the joint lock and takedown, As you can see, Cadet Kim displayed combat skills far beyond what should be expected from a second-year student. The speed of his response, the precision of his technique, these indicate extensive training in violent arts. Objection. Hyejin stood. Combat training is literally the purpose of a military academy. Being skilled is not a crime. Sustained, Nimthar said. Prosecutor, being a good fighter is not evidence of wrongdoing. Vextar was not deterred. Then allow me to present expert testimony. I call Dr. Rixtel, Coalition Medical Officer. A small insectoid alien approached the witness stand. Her voice was high and clicking, but the translator made it understandable. Doctor, please explain what medical scans revealed about Cadet Kim's physical state during the incident. The station's sensors recorded his vital signs. Heart rate increased from 70 beats per minute to over 180. Blood pressure spiked dramatically. Hormone levels showed massive increases in adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. His pain receptors were partially suppressed. In essence, his body entered what humans call a fight-or-flight state. And is this normal for coalition species? No. Most species have moderate stress responses. The human response is extreme by comparison. It essentially turns their body into a temporary combat machine. Murmurs ran through the gallery. This was new information for many species. So you are saying that Cadet Kim was not in full control of his actions? Vextar pressed. Objection, Hyejin stood again. Leading the witness, I will rephrase. Doctor, was Cadet Kim capable of rational thought during this state? The doctor hesitated. Human stress responses do not eliminate rational thinking. They enhance certain survival-related cognitive functions while suppressing others. He would have been fully aware of his actions. Hyejin smiled slightly. That answer helped them more than it hurt. The prosecution called several more witnesses, trying to paint humans as dangerous and unpredictable. But each time, the witnesses had to admit that Jinho had not seriously injured the general, had not struck him, and had released him when asked. Then it was the defense's turn. I call Cadet Minji Park to the stand, Hyejin announced. Minji walked forward calmly and took her oath. Hyejin approached with her datapad. Cadet Park, how long have you known Jinho Kim? 2 years since we both started at the academy. Would you describe him as violent or aggressive? No. Jinho is one of the calmest people I know. He helps younger cadets with their training. He always tries to solve problems peacefully. Were you present in the arena during the incident? Yes, I was standing right next to Jinho. What did you observe? Minji took a breath. General Vrathkon had been insulting humans for several minutes. Jinho asked permission to speak and responded respectfully. The general hit him without warning. It was a hard strike. I thought Jinho might be seriously hurt. What happened next? Jinho stood up. He looked different, focused. He approached the general and used a control technique we learned in our defensive tactics class. He did not punch or kick. He used the minimum force necessary to stop the threat. Thank you, Cadet Park. The prosecution tried to discredit Minji, suggesting she was biased as Jinho's friend, but she remained calm and consistent. Next, Hyejin called Somin Lee, who testified about General Vrathkon's pattern of harassment toward human cadets. Then came a Vrin cadet named Tixwar, a small fox-like alien who nervously admitted that the general had been verbally abusive to many cadets. Not just humans, but the turning point came when Commander Choi took the stand. Commander, you served in Earth's military before joining the Coalition. Can you explain human combat training? Humans train in various martial arts, many of which are thousands of years old. These arts emphasize control, discipline, and using an opponent's force against them. Jinho's response was textbook defensive technique. The prosecution has suggested that human stress responses make them dangerous. Do you agree? Choi looked directly at the tribunal. Human stress responses make us effective. There is a difference. Yes, our bodies react strongly to threats, but we also train extensively to control those responses. Every human officer in the Coalition has passed psychological evaluations. We know our capabilities and our limits. What would have happened if Cadet Kim had lost control? General Vrathkon would be in the hospital with serious injuries or worse. Jinho was trained in techniques that could break bones, rupture organs, or kill. He chose none of those. He chose a hold that caused pain but no lasting damage. That is not loss of control. That is perfect control under stress, the tribunal members whispered among themselves. Even some who had looked hostile to humans earlier seemed thoughtful now. The defense calls Elder Nimthar, Hyejin said. A ripple of surprise went through the chamber. The tribunal head was also going to testify. Nimthar rose slowly from his seat and moved to the witness stand. His movements were fluid despite his obvious age. Elder, you have observed many species over your long life. What did you see when you reviewed the footage? Nimthar's patterns shifted in a way that might have been a smile. I saw something remarkable. In those 3 seconds between standing and acting, Cadet Kim's eyes tracked 17 different targets. Every security officer, every potential threat in the arena. His mind was mapping a battlefield while his body executed one precise movement. What does that tell you? That this was not primitive rage or loss of control. This was sophisticated threat assessment happening at remarkable speed. Cadet Kim's human heritage gave him rapid stress response, but his training and intelligence gave him control. The combination is formidable. Nimthar turned to address the full tribunal. I have studied humanity since they joined our coalition. They are fascinating. They come from a world that tried to kill them every day. Yet they survived by being clever, adaptable, and yes, sometimes violent. But they also created art, philosophy, and complex societies. They are not simple creatures of rage. They are complicated like all of us. The prosecution had no questions for Nimthar. What could they ask? Finally, General Vrathkon was called to testify. He walked to the stand slowly. Under oath, he was required to tell the truth. General, why did you strike Cadet Kim? Vexter asked. He spoke out of turn. He challenged my authority. Did he threaten you? No. Did he make any aggressive movements? No. Even the Kelthari prosecutor seemed disappointed with these answers. Then Hyajin approached for cross-examination. General, you have fought in 30 campaigns. You have faced enemy soldiers, dangerous predators, life-threatening situations. Is that correct? Yes. When Cadet Kim restrained you, you asked him to release you. In fact, you said please. Why? Vrathkon was quiet for a long moment. The chamber waited. I was afraid, he said finally. Afraid of what? He was not hurting you badly. Afraid of what I saw in his eyes. The general's voice was almost a whisper. My instincts told me I was in danger. Real danger. The same instinct that has kept me alive in 30 campaigns. But Cadet Kim released you when you asked. He did not hurt you beyond that initial restraint. Does that sound like someone out of control? No, Vrathkon admitted. It sounds like someone with perfect control. That is what frightened me. The gallery erupted in whispers. 3 days after the tribunal, Jinho returned to classes. He had hoped things might return to normal, but normal no longer existed. Other cadets moved differently around him now. Some nodded with respect. Others gave him wide berth in the corridors. A few still looked at him with open hostility. The human cadets treated him like a hero. Soman and others kept thanking him for standing up for them. But Jinho did not feel heroic. He felt tired and uncertain. You need to eat more than that, Minji said, sitting across from him in the cafeteria. His tray had food, but he had barely touched it. Not very hungry. Jinho, you won. Why do you look so miserable? He put down his fork. Did I win? Or did I just make things harder for every human trying to serve in the coalition? You defended yourself. You showed them we are not weak. That is important. Before he could respond, Commander Choi appeared at their table. His expression was serious. Cadet Kim, you need to come with me. Now. They walked in silence through the station corridors until they reached a secure briefing room. Inside, Jinho was surprised to find several high-ranking officers, including a human admiral he recognized from news broadcasts. Admiral Taewoo Kang was a legend, one of the first humans to achieve flag rank in the coalition. Sit down, cadet, Admiral Kang said. His voice was gentle, but his eyes were sharp. Jinho sat. His heart was beating fast again, though not from adrenaline this time, from simple fear of what was coming. I will be direct, Kang said. The Kelthari High Command has invoked an ancient coalition law. They are challenging humanity's right to full military participation. They have called for the gauntlet. The gauntlet, sir? I do not know what that is. Few people do anymore, Commander Choi explained. It is an old tradition, not used in 200 years. When a species' warrior capabilities are questioned, they can be challenged to prove themselves in formal trials of combat. 3 trials, actually, Kang continued. 3 coalition champions against 3 representatives from the challenged species. If we lose, humans will be restricted to non-combat roles for at least 1 generation, maybe longer. The weight of those words settled on Jinho like a physical thing. Because of what I did. No, Kang said firmly. This has been building since we joined. You just brought it to a head. Some species never wanted us in their military. They think we are too aggressive, too unpredictable. This is their chance to prove it. What kind of trials, sir? Single combat, tactical defense, and survival hunting. Each trial tests different aspects of military capability. Kang leaned forward.
Cadet Kim, we need you to be one of our 3 representatives. Me?
Sir, I am just a second-year cadet. There must be better choices. There are more experienced choices, Kang agreed. But you have something they do not. You have already faced a coalition warrior and won. More importantly, you showed control under extreme stress. That is what we need to demonstrate. Who else would go? Captain Yuna Song, Special Operations with 15 years of experience, and Lieutenant Donghyun Park, Combat Tactics Instructor. You would be the youngest, but that might work in our favor. Show them that even our students are formidable. Jinho felt dizzy. This was too much, too fast. A few weeks ago, he was just trying to pass his exams. Now the future of human military service rested partly on his shoulders. When would this happen? 4 weeks from now. We have that long to prepare. Kang stood and put a hand on Jinho's shoulder. I will not order you to do this. You are a cadet, not active duty. This is voluntary, but I am asking you as one human to another. Will you stand for us? Jinho thought about all the human cadets he had met. Young people like Somin who looked up to him. He thought about his family on Earth and everyone who would come after. Everyone who might want to serve among the stars. Yes, sir. I will do it. Good. Report to Training Base 6 tomorrow at 0600. We start preparation immediately. The next 4 weeks were the hardest of Jinho's life. Admiral Kang brought in specialists from Earth, human trainers who had studied coalition species for years. Captain Yuna Song was intense and focused, a woman in her mid-30s with scars that told stories she never spoke about. Lieutenant Donghyun Park was younger, maybe 30, with an easy smile that hid a brilliant tactical mind. The first trial is pure combat, Yuna explained during their first training session. One-on-one, no weapons. They will choose a large species, probably Tharn. They are like bears, all strength and aggression. How do I beat something twice my size? Jinho asked. You do not beat it, Donghyun said. You outlast it. Human endurance is our secret weapon. We are persistence hunters, remember? Let them tire themselves out. They trained in gravity chambers set to different levels. They studied anatomy of various species, learning weak points and nerve clusters. They practiced techniques until Jinho's muscles screamed and his mind fogged with exhaustion. But they also did something else. They talked about what it meant to be human. The galaxy sees us as violent, Yuna said one evening after training. They are not entirely wrong. Humans have fought wars for thousands of years. We killed each other over resources, beliefs, territory. Our history is soaked in blood. That is a depressing thought, Jinho said, rubbing his sore shoulder. But it is not the whole truth, Donghyun added. Yes, we fought. But we also helped each other survive ice ages. We shared food during famines. We created medicines and saved lives. We are complicated. Violence is part of us, but so is compassion. The gauntlet is our chance to show both sides, Yuna continued. We need to be fierce enough to earn respect, but controlled enough not to inspire fear. That balance is everything. News of the gauntlet spread across coalition space. Media from every species covered it. Some supported humanity's right to full participation. Others argued that the galaxy would be safer if humans were kept away from weapons and warships. On Earth, the story dominated headlines. Jinho's family was interviewed. His mother cried on camera, saying she was proud but terrified. His father stood tall and said his son would make humanity proud. His sister, only 16, started a social media campaign supporting the human team. Minji visited Jinho during training breaks. She brought him food and news from the academy. Everyone is talking about it, she said. Even the cadets from species that do not like us are interested. I think some of them are hoping you win. Or hoping we lose, Jinho replied. Maybe both. But you have changed something, Jinho. Before humans were just the new species. Now we are the species that stood up. That matters. 2 weeks before the gauntlet, Admiral Kang called them all together for a meeting. I need to be honest with you about something, he said. Earth's government has been hiding the full extent of human capabilities since we joined. We were trying not to frighten our new allies, but that strategy has backfired. Now they are frightened anyway and we have no trust. What do you mean hiding capabilities? Yuna asked. Kang activated a holographic display showing Earth. Our planet is classified as hazard level 8. Most coalition species come from level 2 or 3 worlds. They have no frame of reference for what it takes to survive on Earth. They do not understand that humans are apex predators who clawed their way to the top of one of the most dangerous planets in known space. He switched the display to show human history, wars, disasters, pandemics, humanity surviving despite everything trying to kill them. We are not just resilient, Kang continued. We are relentless. When humans want something badly enough, we do not give up. We adapt, we persist, we find a way. That quality makes us excellent soldiers. But it also makes us terrifying to species who have never had to fight that hard for survival. So what do we do in the gauntlet? Dongyin asked. Hold back? No. We show them exactly what we are, but we do it with honor and control. We win, but we win with grace. We prove that humans can be fierce warriors and civilized allies at the same time. The final week of training was mostly mental preparation. They meditated. They visualized success. They talked through scenarios. Jinho found himself becoming calmer, more centered. This was bigger than him now. This was about humanity's place among the stars. 3 days before the gauntlet, something unexpected happened. Former general, now colonel, Vrathkon requested a meeting with Jinho. They met in a small conference room. Vrathkon looked different without his general's insignia. Smaller, maybe, or perhaps just more honest. I wanted to speak with you before the trials, Vrathkon said. Why? To apologize. Not just for striking you, but for what came before. My species has held military dominance for so long that we grew arrogant. We saw newer species as inferior. That was wrong. Jinho did not know what to say. I have been thinking about what happened, Vrathkon continued. When you restrained me, I felt real fear. That fear made me angry at first. Then I realized the fear was not your fault. It was mine for not respecting an opponent. I did not want to be your opponent, I know. But I made you one. And you responded perfectly. You did not kill me when you could have. You showed mercy. That is the mark of a true warrior, not mindless aggression. Thank you, Jinho said quietly. I cannot change how the Keltari High Command voted to challenge you, but I want you to know that some of us understand. Some of us respect what humans can offer the coalition. Vrathkon stood to leave, then paused. Good luck in the gauntlet. I hope you win. The arena for the gauntlet was different from the training facility. This one was ancient, built when the coalition was young. Stone walls rose high, carved with symbols from species long extinct. Thousands of spectators filled the seats, representatives from every member world. Billions more watched from across the galaxy through live broadcasts. Jinho stood with Yuna and Dongyun in the preparation chamber. All three wore simple gray combat suits with Earth's flag on the shoulder. No armor, no weapons, just themselves. Remember the plan, Yuna said, checking her suit seals. Show skill, show control, show honor. Win if we can, but make sure they respect us either way. Admiral Kang entered, followed by Elder Nimthar and several coalition officials. The Elder's pattern swirled in colors Jinho had not seen before. The trials will begin shortly, Nimthar said. I want you to know that regardless of outcome, you have already accomplished something important. You have made the galaxy pay attention to humanity. We will do our best, Elder, Jinho replied. They walked through tunnels into the arena. The roar of the crowd hit like a physical wave. Some cheered, some jeered. Jinho spotted human flags and signs in the stands. Earth had sent supporters. 3 figures stood on the opposite side. The coalition champions. Jinho recognized the first one immediately, a massive Tharn named Korath. He stood 3 meters tall, covered in brown fur with claws that could tear metal. Next to him was a Vryn female named Sela, small but known as one of the best tactical minds in the coalition military. The third was a Cathari tracker called Vexron, famous for never losing a hunt. Elder Nimthar's voice echoed through the arena. Welcome to the gauntlet, an ancient tradition of our coalition. 3 trials will determine if humanity has earned its place among our warriors. The first trial begins now. Single combat between Cadet Jinho Kim and Champion Korath. Jinho walked to the center of the arena. Korath approached from the other side, each step shaking the ground slightly. Up close, the Tharn was even more intimidating. His eyes were small and dark, his teeth were sharp, and his reach was twice Jinho's. I will try not to hurt you badly, little one, Korath rumbled. Thank you. I will do the same, Jinho replied. A gong sounded. The fight began. Korath charged immediately, using his massive size to try for a quick victory. Jinho dodged left, letting the Tharn's momentum carry him past. The crowd gasped at his speed. Korath turned and charged again. Again Jinho dodged. And again. The Tharn was strong and fast for his size, but Jinho was faster. More importantly, Jinho understood something about persistence hunting. It was not about being strongest. It was about being the one still standing when strength failed. For 10 minutes, Jinho dodged and evaded. Korath landed a few glancing blows that would have broken bones on most species. But Jinho's adrenaline response dampened the pain. He kept moving, kept breathing, waited for his moment. Korath's charges became slower. His breathing grew heavier. Tharn were built for power, not endurance. Jinho could see the frustration in the champion's eyes. Then Jinho stopped dodging. As Korath charged again, Jinho stepped inside his reach and struck at pressure points under the Tharn's arm. Korath roared and swung, but Jinho was already behind him, striking at the back of his knee. The massive warrior stumbled. Jinho did not let up. He moved like water flowing around Korath's defenses, striking nerve clusters and joints. He did not try to overpower. He dismantled the Tharn's ability to fight back piece by piece. Finally, Korath dropped to his knees, breathing hard. He could not continue. Jinho stood ready, but the Tharn raised a hand in surrender. "You fight with honor," Korath said between breaths. "I yield." Jinho bowed respectfully and offered his hand. Korath looked surprised, then took it. Jinho helped the massive warrior to his feet. The arena exploded in cheers and shocked exclamations. "Trial 1 goes to humanity," Nimthar announced. Yuna was next. Her trial was tactical defense. She had to hold a fortified position against Sela and a team of 4 Coalition Special Forces soldiers. They had 1 hour to breach her defenses. The test area was a mock base with multiple entry points, sensor systems, and limited defensive tools. Yuna moved through it quickly, analyzing angles and sight lines. She set up her defenses with practiced efficiency. When the hour began, Sela's team moved like professionals. They probed the defenses, tested weak points, coordinated their assault. But Yuna was always 1 step ahead. She had anticipated every approach and prepared countermeasures. More impressively, she used psychological tactics. She left certain paths partially open, inviting specific approaches, then turned those approaches into traps. When the Coalition team tried to use their superior technology, they found their sensors jammed by clever use of the environment. At the 30-minute mark, Yuna went on the offensive. She started picking off team members one by one, using non-lethal capture techniques. Each time she disabled an opponent, she left them in positions that revealed information about remaining forces. Sela adapted quickly, but Yuna had already mapped every possible adaptation. By the 45-minute mark, only Sela remained, and her position was surrounded. The Vryn commander called for cessation. "She outthought us at every turn," Sela announced, showing no shame in the admission. "This human understands tactical thinking at the highest level." "Trial 2 goes to humanity," Nimthar declared. Now it was Donghyun's turn for the final trial. The hunt. He would enter an artificial wilderness while Vexron and 2 other expert trackers pursued him. If Donghyun evaded capture for 48 hours, humanity won. If caught, the trials would be tied. But Admiral Kang had other ideas. "We request a modification of the trial terms," he announced. The Coalition officials looked surprised. "What modification?" "Lieutenant Park will not just evade. He will hunt the hunters. If he can tag any of the 3 trackers before they tag him, that counts as victory." Murmurs ran through the crowd. This was bold, perhaps arrogant. But Kang's eyes were confident. "Agreed," Vexron said. "I welcome the challenge." The wilderness was a massive biodome containing terrain from a dozen worlds. Forest, desert, mountains, rivers. Donghyun was given a 30-minute head start. For the first day, nothing seemed to happen. Viewers watching the broadcast saw occasional glimpses of Donghyun moving through the terrain, always ahead of his pursuers. He left no trace, moved like a ghost. The Coalition trackers were skilled, using all their technology and instincts, but they could not close the gap. Then Donghyun vanished completely. For 6 hours, no one saw him. The trackers grew frustrated, spreading out to cover more ground. That was their mistake. Suddenly, one tracker's signal went dark. Tagged. The human had become the predator. Vexron and the remaining tracker regrouped, now moving more carefully. They had underestimated this human. That would not happen again, but Donghyun was patient. He had studied Earth's greatest hunters, learned from tribes who tracked game across continents. He understood how to read the land, how to use terrain as both shield and weapon. More importantly, he understood his opponent's psychology. Another 6 hours passed. The second tracker was tagged. Only Vexron remained. The Kelthari tracker was the best in the coalition. He would not fall for simple tricks. So Donghyun did something unexpected. He stopped hiding and left an obvious trail leading into a narrow canyon. Vexron saw the trap immediately. The canyon had only one exit, and Donghyun was surely waiting. A smart hunter would avoid such obvious bait. But Vexron realized something else. Donghyun knew that he would know it was a trap. So where was the real trap? Vexron circled the canyon, looking for the human hiding nearby, waiting for him to take the bait or avoid it. He found nothing, because Donghyun was exactly where he appeared to be in the canyon, counting on Vexron to overthink the situation. When the Kelthari finally entered the canyon 2 hours later, expecting the human to have moved on, Donghyun was waiting. He had built a hide so perfect that even the best tracker in the galaxy had walked past it twice. Vexron never saw the tag coming. Trial 3 goes to humanity, Nimthar announced. The gauntlet is complete. Humanity has proven itself. The arena erupted. Cheers shocked disbelief. Jinho, Yuna, and Donghyun stood together in the center, exhausted but proud. They had won not through brute force but through skill, intelligence, and strategy. Admiral Kang joined them, his face showing rare emotion, pride. But Elder Nimthar raised his hand for silence. Before the council makes its final decision, I must reveal something. This gauntlet was not truly a test. Everyone froze. What did that mean? The Coalition Council knew humanity's capabilities before these trials. We have studied your species extensively. We knew you came from a death world, knew your history of conflict and survival. The gauntlet was not to test if humans are capable. It was to show the galaxy what you are, to force everyone to confront your nature openly. Nimthar's patterns swirled in complex ways. Some species feared you. Some wanted you restricted. This fear was poison that would have destroyed any chance of true integration. So we invoked an ancient law to create this moment, to let you demonstrate not just your martial skills but your character. He gestured at Jinho. You showed mercy to your opponent, helped him stand after defeating him. He gestured at Yuna. You proved that human tactical thinking rivals the best minds in the galaxy. He gestured at Donghyun.